So our friend Jonathan Choe with Discovery Institute also is a contributor to Frontline USA. He is at the DNC this week. He's been outside the DNC doing what he does best, dealing with the far left people who are crowding, protesting, doing all. And look what, you know who he ran into? Kshama Sawant, not once but twice.
Ms. Sawant, how you doing? Did you leave Socialist Alternative? Did you leave Socialist Alternative? Kshama Sawant, how you doing? Jonathan Choe here from Seattle. Hey. Do you still regret not running for city council? Do you want to come back? Ms. Sawant, why are you here in Chicago? What is the plan this week at the DNC? Does Ms. Sawant want to talk?
I love how Kshama always has blockers. Like, no, you can't talk to her. You know, oh, we're going to block you with our little sign. Like, it's going to work.
Backpacks.
And it's just, poor Kshama, like, she goes halfway across the country and still can't get away from Jonathan Choe. Anyway, there's a lot going on outside the DNC, especially tonight. There might be some unrest from the far left. So Jonathan Choe was nice enough to take time to fill us in on everything that's happened this week so far. Or not. Jonathan Choe, welcome back to Undivided.
Hey, Brandi.
You are just a bundle of fun over there. Kshama Sawant, I'm shocked she runs away from you because I thought she loved attention.
Yeah, she usually does in Seattle, but I think I've asked her and rather confronted her way too many times now. So I saw her not once but twice here this past week at the DNC, and she is out here with the far left activists pushing her Marxist socialist agenda.
Yeah, there's definitely a socialist element and agenda there. So talk a little bit about what they're doing, because she is not a fan of the Democratic Party. She's said it a million times. She thinks they're just as bad as Republicans, essentially, in her mind. So what are the socialists doing there?
Yeah, well, give her credit for that. Even during her time on the Seattle City Council, she's been pretty consistent, right? She's never really, shown any allegiance to a particular party. She's always been about her own socialist and working class agenda. So basically, Sawant is here joining up with everyone else outside protesting the DNC. And like you said, Brandi, they hate both sides. They hate Trump and they also hate Harris. And what's happening now is that there's also a beef going on, apparently, at least according to this manifesto that's been floating around online, where Sawant has now parted ways with Socialist Alternative. This was her national group, the national attempt to really push her, union agenda, working class agenda. Now she's with another group called Workers Strike Back. So I did go to one of those meetings, and she's pretty much on brand as usual, talking about the need to get rid of capitalism. She's against free market capitalism, against the big corporations, and a lot of people here at the national stage in Chicago are listening now.
Yeah, well, a couple things. So what's her beef with the Socialist Alternative? Because it sounds like she's just advocating for the same things, but she's just not as a member of Socialist Alternative.
Yeah, it seems like Socialist Alternative, first of all, it seems like there could be some financial issues there. She's alleging that they're not being, it's not being used properly. But at the same time, and more importantly for her, she feels like, at least according to this manifesto, they're not being effective enough, maybe more militant as she would like. So she decided to start a new group, or at least align with this group called Workers Strike Back. They have banners out here, they have placards, and they're out here marching, joining up with the pro-Hamas crowd and everything else that's under the sun outside the DNC.
Yeah, we'll get to the pro-Hamas crowd and what's happened so far, maybe is expected to happen this evening. But you said it seems like, these socialist sort of workers fight back people are getting some attention, but at the same time, inside, you've got some of the richest people in America who are headlining the DNC. Oprah, the governor of Illinois, who's a billionaire. I mean, the Obamas, who are multimillionaires. So I guess square that with this, we're for the workers and, down to rich people mentality.
I mean, that's why Sawant has a point, right? And that's kind of the point she's trying to make at the national stage, whether it's the Republican National Convention or Democratic National Convention this week. She's saying that both parties are compromised with rich people, essentially, who care more about their own interests and, bottom line profits over the working class or the will of the people. So again, that message, you don't hear that much inside. A lot of the chants, a lot of the meetings, a lot of the caucusing happening outside the DNC.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pro-Palestine. Some, I would say, are blatantly pro-Hamas. I don't know if it was you that took a picture of it, or you shared a picture of some older gentleman with a sign that said down to Israel, arm Hamas, or disarm Israel, arm Hamas, or something like that. So tell me what you're seeing with that particular crowd outside the DNC.
Look, for our Seattle audience, this is pretty much the same crowd that has been marching and protesting in Seattle on October 7th and across the nation. This is the same crowd that fueled some of the campus protests. You had people now who've been bussed in and flown in from all over the U.S. to descend upon Chicago right now to push the same agenda: free Palestine, free Gaza. But also, you're hearing about reproductive rights as well. You're hearing about immigration rights. So you have pretty much everyone under the sun, along with the troublemakers, Antifa, the anarchists, who try to latch on to these movements anytime there's any, chaos, opportunities for chaos or, destabilizing society. They take advantage of that. So it's complicated right now, to say the least, Brandi.
Yeah, I heard chants of like, it was like Harris is a murderer or something like that. And I'm thinking, well, that's not good for them inside the DNC. It's sort of similar. We have rifts in the Republican Party. This is certainly a rift in the Democratic Party. To what extent have these led to serious security issues?
Well, first of all, one of the favorite chants out here for Kamala Harris is now Holocaust Harris. So you can tell again how they feel about her. But all 3 days now, and of course tomorrow's the final day, rather today's the final day of the DNC. I've lost track of the days now, Brandi, but every single day there's been some type of protest or social unrest. The first day you had the activists who tried to tear down and actually did remove some pieces of the security perimeter around the United Center where the Democratic National Convention is happening, where all the main speakers take the stage. And then on day two, you had another massive mob in front of the Israeli consulate. And that was the day where, police arrested more than 70 people. Unfortunately, nobody was charged, though, believe it or not, and just simply released again. And then yesterday we had another massive protest. No arrest yesterday, but you get the theme here, right, Brandi? And tonight, on this final day of the DNC, we're now expecting an even larger protest. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and I heard uncommitted delegates are upset and, because they're not given a stage. And some of those uncommitted delegates are there from Washington State, people who didn't necessarily support Harris. They want to be heard. But I don't know if it's changed or if you've heard anything, but I've heard that there's not going to be any changes to the lineup to accommodate them.
They're asking for a speaker of Palestinian descent, right? And they feel like nobody is being represented there. So there's actually a sit-in within the perimeter of the DNC right now. Representative Ilhan Omar from Minnesota has also shown up to show her support for this small group. But there's protests happening inside now and protests happening outside.
Yeah, can I just end it on, I don't know if you saw this, but it was hilarious. There's this social media personality who actually brought a migrant from Venezuela to try to get into the DNC. He came across the border illegally, and there's that wall they built, the fence wall essentially around the DNC, and he couldn't get the undocumented migrant through the wall into the DNC. He had to have ID and all of this paperwork and stuff. And so it was just this funny point about you don't mind them coming across our southern border, but the security outside the DNC is much tighter. So,
yeah, that's the irony or the hypocrisy. And they made a point that this is the exact type of fencing, this 2-layer fencing, where there would be one, first line of defense, then a no man's land, and another second fence if, they got through, as an idea that Trump pitched. So again, the Democrats are now using all of Trump's ideas, it appears.
Yep, just at the DNC. All right, Jonathan Choe, please be safe tonight. And thank you so much for your reporting from the DNC.
See you back in Seattle.
There you have our friend Jonathan Choe. You can follow all his activity at Choe Show on X. Also check him out at Discovery Institute's Wealth and Poverty Center. They do a lot of reporting on the homeless crisis, etc. But Choe managed to just find the left-wing rioters wherever he goes, or maybe he seeks them out. Who knows? But we appreciate him filling us in.